CoolClouds technology is preparing the way for a dramatic quantum leap in the power of processors for servers, personal computers, gaming platforms, and telecommunications devices. Let me tell you the story. Perhaps you've heard of Moore's Law. 7 years after the development of the integrated circuit, Intel co-founder Gordon Moore in 1965 observed that integrated circuits were growing smaller and more tightly packed together at such an extraordinary rate that computing power was doubling every 2 years. He predicted this would continue for at least another 10 years as new advances would make for smaller and smaller integrated circuits. As it turns out, for nearly 5 decades, Moore's Law has been on the books, charting the course for the computer revolution, one of the most astonishing technological developments in the modern world. In recent years, however, circuits have grown so small and so densely packed together that the further expansion of processing power has reached a heat barrier. We can pump more power into the chip, but the silicon will melt. While overall computing power has continued to grow by running multiple chips in parallel, the individual processor has not been growing stronger. When it comes to individual processors, we've been falling far short of Moore's Law. So this is the dilemma. When power increases and size decreases, the power density creates enormous heat and a substantial thermal management problem. Right now, effective heat management is the primary obstacle to increasing processor power. On the one hand, then, running more and more processors in parallel grows increasingly complex and costly, and it's impossible in smaller devices. On the other hand, when it comes to individual processors, Moore's Law is no longer enforced. Because of the heat barrier, the most advanced microprocessors can only handle about 200 watts of power and can only deliver about 4 gigahertz of processing capacity. The problem is just as acute for the data centers that form the backbone of the internet. Servers, too, can only handle so much power density before hotspots form and threaten the entire infrastructure, forcing data center technicians to find increasingly elaborate and expensive cooling solutions. Options currently on the market are insufficient. Air cooling is ineffective and cannot allow for higher amounts of power. Liquid cooling solutions are not much better. They're expensive and bulky and impractical for smaller devices. Fortunately, Ven Hilalkare, who founded and led Intel's thermal research lab for 7 years, has developed a new approach to chip cooling that will pave the way for a much more powerful next generation of microchips. The solution is a hybrid cooling module, utilizing air and liquid cooling techniques in a synergistic way. Our completely self-contained module rests directly on top of the chip package. Cool water is pumped through microscopic channels in the base plate, which absorbs the heat into the water. As the warm water flows around a central fan through an air-cooled radiator, it becomes cool water again and is pumped back into the base plate to continue its circulation. It functions essentially like a car radiator with miniaturized components, and as it turns out, the efficiency multiplies at smaller sizes. We've demonstrated the effectiveness of our supercool modules at powers up to 500 watts. That opens the door to 16 gigahertz, maybe even 32 gigahertz of processing power. We're not talking about the next generation of microchips. We're talking about the generation after that. All in a complex, efficient, modular form that's easily customized for use, not only in personal computers and telecom devices, but also in servers and even military applications. Current water-cooled systems are large, inefficient, and expensive. By contrast, CoolClouds module is the same size as current heat sinks, just as affordable and far more powerful. Our patent-pending hybrid channeling technique maximizes heat transfer and provides for uniform cooling, eliminating hot spots. Now, we'd love to tell you more about the hybrid channeling technique, but that would be rather foolish. The Colonel's not going to tell you his secret recipe, and neither are we. But you should know that the same technique can be employed in modules with built-in fans for personal computers and gaming consoles, or without built-in fans in order to fit within standard 1U and 2U server racks. So, we have on our hands a technological innovation. How do you turn this into a profitable company? First of all, we have the product. There's nothing theoretical about this. We've made it, we've tested it, we've proved it. It works beautifully. The good news is, we don't just have the product. We also have the customers. CoolClouds is already in serious conversations with industry giants developing prototypes for their system specifications. We are showing them that our product outperforms all their current suppliers and every other option on the market. We're in high-level conversation with leading companies for graphics processors, telecommunications devices, and military applications. In fact, we just signed contracts to develop cooling modules for next-generation gaming consoles and LED projectors. The possibilities, frankly, are gobsmacking, and we feel we are poised to explode into the B2B marketplace. We also believe we can reach the consumer market for high-end personal computers, and especially overclocking gamers. We also have the team. At the heart of CoolClouds are scientists and researchers who've spent many decades collectively researching thermal management and electronic packaging. Around them are executives, each with 20, 25, 30 years of experience leading high-tech firms to extraordinary success. We also have the supply and manufacturing operations in place and ready to scale. We've found the most cost-efficient locations to develop the parts for our cooling modules. We assemble them in the Philippines and ship them to our customers. Our financial projections are strong because our remaining costs are dwarfed by the size of the market that awaits. Our costs thus far have been relatively low. We have every indication that we're on the verge of signing licensing agreements with industry leaders that will bring in millions of dollars and permit us to ramp up our production capacity. Of course, when you take into account not only personal computers, but servers, gaming platforms, LED projectors, telecommunications devices, literally any technology that wants to take advantage of high-power microprocessors, the total potential market is massive. The company so far has been built on a shoestring budget, with $350,000 in friends and family investments and a $150,000 research grant from Georgia Tech. We're currently seeking to raise another round of capital that will allow us to complete the prototyping process and begin bringing the product to market in substantial numbers for our customers. To leave you with one example, Oracle's 450-watt Spark processor will reach about 200 degrees Celsius with current technology, twice its temperature limit. Supercool holds that temperature at 70 degrees Celsius, 30% cooler than most laptop microprocessors. We've leapfrogged the competition. One thermal engineer at a major technology firm said, "This is what I've been dreaming about for years." Another, after we finished our presentation, declared, "This is the best technology available today." CoolClouds prepares the way for a quantum leap in computing power, from 4 gigahertz to 16 or even 32 gigahertz. It lowers costs for data centers, clears the way for blazing overclocking, and does so in a small modular form that's easily adaptable to industry leaders' needs and specifications. We have the product, the customers, the team, the supply chain, and with additional investment, we'll be ready to start delivering large numbers of modules for use in personal computers, servers, gaming consoles, telecommunications devices, and LED projectors.